Hi, I'm Ron with Cruising This Old Boat, and today I'm going to show you how to repair your fiberglass rudder. Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Marie.
10 years ago, we bought a broken down trawler for $4,000.
And nothing worked, not even the kitchen sink.
After a lot of hard work and help from our friends and family, we moved aboard Elixir full time. And now we are cruising this old boat while the work and fun continues.
So subscribe and give us a like and come along with us, cruising this old boat.
The first step is to drain any water that's in it out. You can see right here, that's core, that's plywood, and that plywood is wet. So I'm gonna assume that there's some water down in the bottom of the rudder, and so the first thing I'm gonna do is drill a couple holes in the bottom and try to let that water drain out, let that core dry up. I don't want to fiberglass this back in and just trap all that water in there. It'll just rot that core even more and more. So I want to try to dry it out some before I fiberglass it back up. Next step would be to cut out, I get rid of this jagged point here. I got this loose, particularly down here, loose flap sitting here. So I think I need to get rid of that. And again, a point here that we need to get rid of. Just get it ready to start refiberglassing. All right, I cut out all the loose stuff. Got to cut back to what's solid so we have a good solid base to work off of. So next step will be to sand it, to ferret out some so I can put multiple layers of fiberglass and get it smoothed out. What you want is to end up with a slope on where you've used your grinder and sander, so that each successive layer of fiberglass will extend a little bit further than the last without building up too much bulk. To replace the missing core, I used Kusa board. My opinion, all cores should be Kusa board from this time until they invent something better. Kusa board is water impervious. You can submerge it in water and it won't rot, won't fall apart. It's there. And it's lighter weight than wood, but just as strong as wood. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. So I use Kusa board just in case our rudder is damaged in the future. At least it won't rot. Might break, but it won't rot. And then I took and drilled some 4 screws. I drilled the holes through it, used 4-inch screws, and I countersunk about half the way through the Kusa board. So about 2 inches of that screw is in the Kusa board and 2 inches is in the original rudder, in the plywood that forms the core of the original rudder. Now to strengthen it up a little bit, I shot some epoxy into the gaps between the Kusa board and the original core. That'll keep the Kusa board from being able to flex because it now has a solid bottom. To make that easy, I just used this West System 610, and it's like you put in a caulking gun and you can shoot it wherever you want it. So I was able to just plug it into those gaps. Then you just begin to fiberglass it. Now what I did is I put a piece of fiberglass on one side and then the other side, and then I would put a cap on the end that wrapped around from one side to the next. Then I'd do a second layer which would go over the edges of the cap. And remember, each successive layer you want it to be a little wider than the first one, so it would extend towards the left in this view a little bit further than the layer underneath it. So each layer had 2 sides and a cap And yeah, and I did 7 layers total of fiberglassing. Once you have a sufficient number of layers of fiberglass mat on there, then you want to mix up some fairing compound and fair out all the dips and get it smooth and get it to transition. There's going to be some amount of slant, I'm not sure the right word to use, but the rudder will be fatter as it gets closer to the boat and skinnier as it gets further away from the boat. The rudder is going to be fattest a few inches back from the leading edge of the rudder, and then slope back to a thinner point towards the end of the rudder. Next, you want to sand the rudder to make it smooth. I recommend starting with something like 60 grit sandpaper and then go to 150 grit and just smooth out all the wrinkles. Then paint the rudder to match the rest of your bottom paint, and you've got a brand new rudder.